First, let me apologize for taking you away from a playoff game. Oh my God!
Turns
I
out,
had
though,
no idea.
it wasn't a great game, so it's okay.
Hey, it was a playoff game.
playoff game,
I'll take it. We're building. I'll take that. And so, but I have a sneaky suspicion there were some chicken wings. There was some football in there. Okay.
It was on mute, but yeah.
Good.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening whenever you may be listening, and welcome to Latitude, the 43 North podcast. I'm your host, Nate Benson, Director of Media and Public Relations here at 43 North, and we've got a pretty great episode with you this week. Who's the guest? Well, let me tell you, it's Dave Jakubowski from Facebook. But who is Dave Jakubowski? Well, he's a Western New York guy. Of course, there's always a Western New York connection, and he joined us this week in Buffalo for the Ignite Buffalo program, and that's what we're talking about this week. We're talking about how Ignite Buffalo began and what it's doing for small businesses in Western New York.
David, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
For those who don't know you, why don't you give us the quick pitch of who David Jakubowski is?
I'm a local boy. Currently work at Facebook. I head up data and analytics for our emerging businesses.
Oh, that's such a nerdy job.
It is a nerdy job, and I am guilty. I'm a bit of a nerd.
Good.
So I wear that badge proudly. And I live in the Bay Area with my wife, my two boys. And I'm here in Buffalo. I'm actually staying with my parents, so I'm literally back in my bedroom and having a great time being here and hanging out with the folks at 43 North and the businesses of Buffalo.
So are you one of few Bay Area Bills fans?
There is a shocking number of Bills fans everywhere you go.
Of course, everyone knows that.
Yes. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of Bills fans. There's not a lot of us, but we wear our Bills blue every chance that we get. In fact, I opened the event yesterday and had my boys in their Bills jersey. The picture we used had my boys in their Bills jerseys, and I still have Zubas.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit about the journey prior to Facebook. And then, of course, we'll obviously get into why you're here in Buffalo. But what was life like prior to Facebook, and what did that journey look like?
Yeah. So I was a Western New York kid and grew up playing hockey and baseball and all that, stuff that we do here.
And then when college was ready, like, I got to get out of Buffalo, right?
I went to Binghamton.
Okay, so not too far.
Yeah, so I didn't go too crazy. I had a great time at Binghamton. And then after Binghamton, I got involved in software with the Software Publishers Association through my internship. And then after school down in D.C., ended up starting a company down there and moving up to New York City to take a shot at a startup. And, that's where I think my tech bug really started, between the Software Publishers Association and starting that company. I've done 3 companies. That first one didn't go so well, but I've been very lucky, and the second 2 were pretty good.
Any family history of entrepreneurship, or were you kind of the first one to take the deep dive, so to speak?
My grandfather was actually an entrepreneur, and he had a series of small businesses on my dad's side, and my grandfather on the other side ran a printing shop. So, there's been the small business, sole proprietor entrepreneurship, in my family for as long as I've been aware of it.
So your first startup you mentioned didn't end so well, and for those listeners, we just had a great episode on our podcast about failure and talked to a Buffalo startup who failed last year, and they had a great candid conversation. Real quick, if you don't mind me asking, like, what happened and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, it was a broadband audio company before broadband really had household penetration.
Sure.
So we were really early. The idea has kind of manifested itself and shows up today in kind of the Pandora, Spotify, iTunes kind of way. We were just really early with a good idea. We worked hard at it.
Yeah.
It wasn't for lack of trying. It wasn't because we missed on execution. We were just flat out too early. And the real big mistake we made is that we misjudged the market.
Sure.
And I learned a ton from that. In fact, I still have a little piece of the first circuit board that we built to kind of get it going on my desk as a reminder, and it kind of keeps you to your roots and keeps you humble and keeps you focused.
And just so for our listeners, so for context, what time frame we think? Are we late 90s, early 2000s?
This is 1995 to 98.
Okay.
In that ballpark. And
everyone was trying a lot. I mean, there was a lot of failures in that time.
There was
Everyone's
a lot.
trying this new internet idea.
That's right. That's right. It was right. It was right. We were kind of winding it down right as, anything with a .com was a good idea.
Exploded, yeah.
Yeah. And so I went from there to, I don't know if you remember Juno, the free email application. Yeah. So I was there
There's
pretty
still
early.
A few of those emails kicking around, too.
There are.
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are. I was there through that, and then we merged with NetZero, and I stayed on for that. And so I had a great journey there. And my first role there was to help take it from a free email application to a free ISP. And that was a lot of fun. And I really learned a lot there. I learned a lot about product. I learned a lot about customers. And what I really learned was the purchase funnel. And that has served me well, in everything that I've done. And if you stay focused on delivering value, a lot of things will take care of itself. And if you create and stay focused on making sure that your customers get more value out of what you're giving them than they give to you, that was probably the biggest lesson I learned there.
So your role at Facebook, I know I razzed you a little bit for being an analytics nerd, but walk us through, what you oversee and how that impacts kind of the daily users.
Sure. So I oversee, like I said, data and analytics. Our focus right now is kind of split in two areas, but all around what are the things that we need to do to be a better partner for content providers, and that's a huge focus for us right now on Newsfeed, on Instagram, and how are we working with those companies? How are we deriving insights? How are we making better recommendations about what we can be doing better so that our users get access to the richest, best content on the planet?
It's such a changing landscape, the content world. I mean, I've been in it since 2002, so the SD days and tape days, but there was no internet content. But now the long form video with Instagram TV and more video on Facebook. So I mean, you've got to constantly be analyzing just what the consumers want, right?
Absolutely. And we've shifted over the past couple of decades from a content distribution model that was one to many, and now we're at many to many. And so staying really, really close to what the users need and want is paramount. And we're working as hard as we can to make sure that we stay on those trends and that we're working with our partners. They see and they know that those content producers are talking to their consumers constantly, and so they have a pretty good pulse on it. And then as a data and analytics group, we're a service organization, and we're trying to do our best to help with those insights. So that the best and the right content gets to the right person, so that each person gets their own personalized experience.
As someone who's seeing, where trends are currently, where they're potentially going, any advice or feedback for, those startups, tech companies, entrepreneurs out there who create their own content, and publish on their channels?
It goes back to that lesson that I talked about earlier. Make sure that you're giving your customers more value than they give to you. And if you stay focused on that, the rest will take care of itself. And in every business that I've done, whether it's content, ads, monetization, the service that I provide internally and externally, that's my mantra. And let's make sure that we're the best vendor that we can be for every single one of our customers, and so that they can't live without the service that we provide. And if you do that, you'll have a good, healthy, strong business with a loyal customer base.
So shifting gears a little bit, last time I saw you was October at the 43 North Finals.
Absolutely.
You were one of our 7 judges on stage. What was that experience like?
That was a ton of fun. My favorite thing to do is to work with clients and to work with companies and help businesses grow.
Melissa Bradley said the same thing in the podcast.
Yeah.
She loves to talk to.
I've been sitting up there talking to companies for the last couple of days. When we're done here, I'm going to go back up there and I'm going to sit and just help as many businesses as I can. I've been very fortunate. I work at an amazing company. I'm very blessed with the people that I'm surrounded by. They push me every single day. And if I can pay it forward a little bit, that's really what I want to do. And I love doing it. Mm-hmm. If you give me an option of anything I wanted to do, that's my hobby. I run a mentorship network with a couple of other folks. It's free. It's a Facebook group. And we just call ourselves Beam, bringing expertise and access through mentorship. And it's free to small businesses. And there's a whole bunch of amazing mentors in there who our entrepreneurs just can ask any question that they want, and a mentor picks it up and tries to help them with it. It's been an amazing experience. It's been an amazing ride, and I do that outside of work. Mm-hmm. I do that just because it's fun. And so, that's where you'll find me, sitting up there on the floor helping out a business. And if you're a business and you got a question, hit me in the Facebook group and we'll see if we can help.
Why why do that? Why give back? Why get involved like that? I mean, high level, executive like yourself, you not necessarily don't need to do that. You know what I mean? So why is it important for people in positions like you're in to do that?
I'm a huge believer in the pay it forward model. If you've never seen that movie, absolutely go watch the movie. For any of the listeners out there who aren't old enough to have seen it, but the whole pay it forward model, it's good for the soul. And in my life, the most important thing to me is my family, and the reason I do almost anything is people. It's the thing I like the most about my job. It's the teams, it's the camaraderie, it's working together. And I like to tackle the hardest, gnarliest problems with an amazing group of people. We don't always get it right. We make mistakes, but it's that interaction, it's that working with people that is the most rewarding thing that I've found in life. And so given an opportunity, why wouldn't I do that? Mm-hmm. And so I look at it as, I just look at it as fun. It's why we're here. People are fascinating. And I find that the vast, vast, vast majority of people are really good and want to do great things. And when you help somebody, especially as a business, and they get to succeed, and they tell you that story about what it did for their life, or how it helped them get to the next level, or how they were able to pay for college for their kid, like, there's nothing better than that.
So after 43 North Finals, a whirlwind week, a lot of companies, a lot of startups you saw. You went back to Facebook, and you guys have this Facebook Community Boost idea. Mm-hmm. And kind of walk me through what was going through your head with what 43 North does, what Facebook does with the Community Boost, and how some things could go together.
Sure. So Facebook had been doing a thing called Boost Your Business for a long time. It's run out of our small business team. It's an excellent program where they would go in and teach businesses how to leverage some of the tools on Facebook. And Facebook has actually spent $1 billion on building tools and running programs to help small businesses dating all the way back to 2011.
So early on, I mean, they realized this is this is something we need to focus on. 'Cause
This
it's
is a
better
big
for
deal, yeah.
Business community, it's good for us. It's good for everybody.
Yeah. And, one of the things that the internet did an amazing job of is really democratizing access to consumers. And they made it easy and more affordable. And I hope to keep that endeavor and drive down the cost of small businesses and de-risk, starting a business so that we can have more of that everywhere. It's the growth driver for our economy. And to me, it's the most important segment of our economy to continue to grow. And so I'd like to stay focused on that. Having said that, Boost Your Business, was a program that was going on for a long time, and kind of in parallel to the work that they were doing, I was really inspired by what 43 North was doing, and myself and Melissa Bradley, who you mentioned earlier, we kind of hung out at the 43 North event and just started talking. And she does a lot of this work.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Project 500 is an amazing organization. And, I just said, why can't we do more of this? Why can't we help more companies? Why can't this scale? And that began a bit of an education and a journey. And I was very fortunate. I got to work with Toby Corey on it at Stanford, out of Stanford. And I just, I found that there's just so many amazing people who were just willing to volunteer time and help. And so I absorbed everything that I could. And that's how we ended up starting the Beam Mentorship Network. And so that was kind of happening in parallel to the work that was going on at Facebook, and I was doing that outside of work. And there's a gentleman at Facebook named Dan Levy who leads our small business organization, and he kind of started to say, hey, you know what? In 2018, we need to do more.
Sure.
What if we had a goal? To try to spend, all that money that we've done since 2011. What if we had a goal to just try to do that in 2018 and provide that kind of a boost to what we're doing with small businesses? And he said, what would that look like? And he got a group of folks together and they started working on it. And somebody had heard about some of the work that I was doing outside of it, and they called me and they said, hey, we're thinking about this, what do you think?
Sure.
And so I became part of the volunteer army to try to help. And Community Boost was kind of born out of that initiative. And we set a really tight timeline. And we said, hey, in the next 3 or 4 months, we want to be in a city. We picked a group of cities that we thought we could go in and have an impact on. The very first one that we did was St. Louis, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And
Facebook PR will correct you in an email if you got that one wrong.
If I got that one wrong, yeah, but I'm pretty sure it was St.
Yeah,
Louis.
it
was. And like we do at Facebook, we hacked it and we put it together and we tried, and we have a big philosophy and culture built on iteration. And so we just said, hey, let's pick a starting point. Let's do the best that we can. It actually went off pretty well. I was very impressed with it. The teams did an amazing job. We pulled together great curriculum. And that's where the idea for the partnership was really born. And we started with Intuit. They were an amazing partner. And, Buffalo was on that list of cities, that we thought that we could have an impact on. And so I picked up the phone and I called Jordan Levy and Bill Maggio and I said, hey, by the time we get to Buffalo, we should have a few iterations on this. Let's dream big. What could this really look like?
Sure.
And that dialogue with that partnership began. I had met Dan Hakoy and Mike Pikevich here over that week that I was here the year before for 43 North's big event, and started talking to them about one of the big needs that we have around training digital skills for the workforce. Introduce them to our education partnerships team, and off and running they went. And then I stayed focused on working with 43 North and bringing on partners like M&T Bank, expanding the partnership with Intuit, bringing on WooCommerce and WordPress and AWS, and it just kind of took off and had a life of its own. And, there's 60 some odd people now working around
Yeah.
on Community Boost, plus the 43 North folks, plus all of the partners.
Yeah.
So it really, just took on a life of its own because a lot of people cared.
Yeah. I'll never forget it. It was the Friday morning before the Bills playoff game, the first Bills playoff game in 17 years. And Bill calls myself and Colleen, hey, I need you to put together a pitch deck for Dave Jakubowski over Facebook. Oh, and by the way, like the top people at Facebook are going to see this. Oh, and I need it, Sunday night. Thanks, Blake. Okay, cool. There goes my chicken wings and my plans for the playoff game. And we kind of hunkered down, and the three of us came together with what we kind of thought. Okay, there's Community Boost. Here's what some sort of like small business competition could be, and here you guys go. Let us know. And then a couple weeks went by, and like nothing, crickets, nothing. And then all of a sudden the phones light up, and all right, we're doing this. Put together a team, and let's really crank this out. So really, in the span of 2 months, 2.5 months, we all of us kind of got together on weekly calls, sometimes multiple week calls, and hammered through like all these little nitty gritty details of like how does this work? Like how do we take the competition 43 North runs and just like apply it to small business? It's actually not as linear of a move as you might think.
Yeah, it proved to be a lot more work than I think a lot of us thought. And so first, let me apologize for taking you away from a playoff game. Oh my God!
Turns
I
out
had
though,
no
it
idea.
wasn't a great game, so it's okay.
Hey, it was a playoff game.
playoff game.
I'll take it. We're building. I'll take that. And so, but I have a sneaky suspicion there were some chicken wings. There was some football in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
Good.
was on mute, but yeah. It was
Good. Okay. Because I certainly wasn't missing that game.
Of course not.
But that and those weekly calls and the group that we set up, going back and forth, it was a lot of work. It wasn't always pretty.
It was the meat grinder.
You just
talk these things out until it figures out.
Just had to figure it out, and everything's not always smooth. But when you show up here and you look at the job that the teams did on this event, I mean, it's mind-boggling. And the teams just did such an amazing job. When I walked in, I was like awestruck. The events teams, the curriculum, the partners, the community and how it rallied around it. And I don't know how you guys got, the community to rally around it this hard, but it's powerful and it's amazing. And I'm thrilled to be here doing it in Buffalo.
It was really great to see because, the application window, we really only had about 3 weeks for the application to be done. And, I remember, about a week and a half into it, some of us on the phone, like there wasn't many submitted applications. And, Colleen and I were saying, listen, it's just like college. You're not going to turn in your homework early if there's no benefit of turning it in early, right? So they're gonna flood in those last 36 hours. And sure enough, but even Colleen and I did not expect, that 477 total applicants that we got. And, we were kind of targeting like, 300 would be great, So we're like, fantastic. We blew away even our expectations. And, when we went on these road shows, we had 60 plus people in a room in Batavia and Dunkirk. And,
That's my one regret. That's my one regret is that I couldn't come out and do that road show. I would have loved to have gone out into all those communities and met with those small businesses.
And it's the emotions and the excitement, carried through that entire application period. And then like during the first round judging that we had, or the second round judging we had here on Monday, again, this is all very fluid, dynamic. I mean, we didn't know the top 27 until about 20 hours ago, and I had to make a lot of those calls saying, congratulations, you're in the top 27.
I read it on the blog post.
Yeah.
So that's when I found out. And then it was in the paper. I read it this morning, the article. Macklin did a great job on that article. But I remember very distinctly a call with you and Colleen, myself and Christina Amato, and Divya Chopra, who really took this on our end and
really
partnered
did a great
with
job
you
project
and Colleen.
They deserve a lot of props. And Colleen from our end, she ran with us. I was just her backup.
Yeah, the four of you deserve the credit for most of this. So they just did an amazing job. But I have a very vivid memory of a phone call, kind of going to Colleen. Is this good or bad? And there were not a lot of applicants, and I was really nervous.
Yeah.
And Colleen, kind of said, no, this is how it rolls. And I remember distinctly the day, the deadline day, and like literally hundreds.
Yeah, if you look at that on a bar graph, just like literally a straight line up.
It was a hockey stick of all hockey sticks, man. And that was really, really cool.
But you've had a chance. You've been here. You saw, you popped in and out of some of those the pitches, and you've seen some of those 27 finalists. You're really now able to see. Dollars are one thing, but you're able to see like just the excitement and the impact. Like what's going through your mind now that you see like that just the first part of this Ignite Buffalo thing kind of wrapping up, but now there's like a whole second part of this.
Yeah.
That's just as exciting.
To me, this is just the start.
Yeah.
Like this is the beginning, and that's to me the most fun and probably the thing that nobody's talking about yet. This is the beginning.
Yeah.
It's an amazing 3 days, but for these companies, literally for every company who comes through and was taking this curriculum that we've been doing over the last 3 days, there's a 12-month mentorship program that you guys 43 North are running, and the lineup and the schedule of events and curriculum is amazing. And there's even a job fair. I think it's 9 months out. As these companies begin to grow, they're going to need to hire, and we get in that, and you put that in combination with the partnership with ECC, like the opportunity to take the renaissance that is going on in Buffalo and literally ignite it and light that thing on fire over the next 12 months is really, really exciting. And I think that the mentorship program and the ability to have that sustained effort for these companies, I'm really optimistic that it's going to pay dividends, and I'm really excited to see what happens because there's some really cool companies.
Yeah, I mean, and what's nice is no one's kind of going home empty-handed, especially to we're recording this about 4 hours before the finals. We'll be releasing this podcast sometime this week, but no one's kind of going home quote unquote empty-handed. And plus, like you said, the sustainability is open to the public. So like the things they're seeing at this community boost, people can still participate in and create a synergy of small businesses collaborating and growing. And I will say it's probably been for me, especially when I probably called a dozen of the finalists, and having over half of them openly screaming at me on the phone in excitement, the other half weeping on the phone because they're in the startup and tech world, numbers like 500,000 and 1.5 million and 2 million rounds, like they're just thrown around like it's just candy at a candy store. And I'm talking to these small businesses, and they're like crying and saying, you have no idea what $25,000 is going to do for me. Like it's rent for the next 18 months, or it's and that allows me to now hire 2 people, or whatever the case may be.
Well, there's a funny backstory there. So at the 43 North event the year ago, the one where I told you I had met Melissa and folks, Colleen approached me and said, hey, some of our past winners and these winners, they need mentorship. How would you feel about helping with mentorship? And I said, I'd be happy to help, was my kind of first reaction to it. And then I started to get in and started to ask her questions about what they need. And Melissa was there, and Bonin, and
Toby was there,
and Toby was there, and
Eric,
and Eric Hippo, and we started talking about it. And one of the things that we identified is that how much more successful the entrepreneurs are when they take on mentorship and advisors. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing is, almost none of the companies that we talked to when we began the process said that a one-to-one mentor is really what they need. What they needed was expertise across a number of areas, and we did a whole bunch of homework and research to identify the 4 areas that are the most common that they look for help in, and that's the design of the curriculum here, but also the design now of the mentorship program that you guys are running for sustainability here on out. And it started because Colleen asked the question.
Yeah, just one question.
Just one question. And that's a really cool thing to see take shape and be real. And I'll be helping out as much as I can and doing whatever she needs.
So wrapping things up, what's your feeling on this whole Ignite Buffalo experience?
I'm an eternal optimist. And, like I said, in my day job, my favorite thing is to get a really gnarly, hard problem to attack with a team of great people. And I rarely look at a problem and say we can't solve that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just so optimistic about the impact that we can have on this community, and that how much that we can empower this small business community to grow and to thrive, and then to feed and sustain itself. And that'll be really, really powerful. And the community of Buffalo, the infrastructure here with 43 North, the entrepreneurial spirit that already exists, the work that the mayor's doing in the city and the governor's office, I'm just so optimistic about the impact and the renaissance that's happening here in Buffalo. So I can't wait to watch.
You know what the number one question that people have been coming up to me and ask is?
No, what?
When are you guys doing this again? But to be continued.
To be continued.
David, thank you so much for coming back. Thank you for being a 43 North judge. Thank you for rolling your sleeves up and helping us pull this off. You played an instrumental part in it. Like I said earlier, this has been some of the most inspiring work I've done in my professional career, and to say I had a role in it, it really means a lot. And kudos to you and your team at Facebook for helping us out.
Thank you. I'm privileged to just be a small part of it. Thank you.
Cheers.
I want to thank Dave for joining me on the podcast this week, and thank him for his dedication to Western New York and, of course, helping us with the Ignite Buffalo program. Hey, if you're new to the podcast, make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. We're available on Spotify, Podbean, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, and any of your favorite podcasting apps. And hey, head on over to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review of this podcast so that more people can hear it. For 43 North, I'm Nate Benson. We'll see you at the next one.